oh, fine. But I'll tell you, tzitzis, you never did it before. It's a mitzvah. It's a very, very exalted thing. Start slow. Just get a talis without the tzitzis. Come back in a week, see how you feel. She buys it. She's so excited. Thank you, Rabbi, so much. You made my day. You made my life. You made my everything. Thank you. She buys a talis. She comes back in a week. Rabbi says, "No. Wow, did I feel high? Was I honest? Was I spirit? I've connected to Hashem. I can't describe to you the feeling that I." Rabbi said, "Yeah, really? I hate to break it to you, but you did absolutely zero. No mitzvah, no nothing whatsoever. The garment gets its kedusha, gets its holiness once the tzitzis are connected. Once the tzitzis are connected. Till then, it's a piece of material." So, what do we see from here? It's not about the feeling. Some days we'll feel it, some days we won't feel it. As Torah Jews, as Torah, devout Torah Jews, we do things because Asher Kiddushonu b'mitzvaysav, no matter what. Right? Tzaddikim, Gedolim, Pashut, simple Jews, so to speak, under the craziest circumstances. They had every excuse, maybe not, maybe yeah, to do, not to do. They stood strong. We saw, I remember watching Mir Shashiva of Shmuel Berman, Zochan Levracha, how he would, till his last breath on this earth, how he was learning. His devotion to davening. It was hard for him. He was weak, especially I'm talking 2 weeks before he passed away. He was ravaged by illness. Nothing stood in his way. And he explained, he says, there was the last dinner. So he would give a shir before the dinner, give a lecture. It's a whole story how that happened. And the doctor told him, this was less than a year before, I said, don't go. You shouldn't go to the dinner. You're too weak. And he explained, he says, and he was right. He says, the doctor doesn't understand what giving the shir does for me. He was so, Torah was so part of him, it was so him. That gave him strength. At the dinner, he already started feeling weak and he went home. But the learning? When he had his first or second, he had a very, very bad heart attack where he almost passed away. And the doctor came over to him and said, Rabbi, you need to cut down on the learning. Your schedule was too rigorous. He would learn 18 hours a day. Wow. 18 hours a day, including learning on his own, teaching and being in this medrash with Talmidim and explaining him. 18 hours a day the man sat and learned Torah. He was incredible. He was an incredible human being. Tremendous tzaddik, bal chesed, everything. He was huge. And back in those days, there was no second opinion, wasn't a thing. And he looks at the doctor and he says, Doctor, did you ever make a mistake in your career? The doctor's like, no. Never made a wrong diagnosis. He said, yeah. Well, now is your first time. So you're telling me to cut down on my life? I'm telling you that's not going to work. And he didn't. For the next 40 years, he kept to his schedule. That. So, Asher Kiddushonu b'mitzvaysav, v'tzivonu al mitzvahs tzitzis, mitzvah of tzitzis. Tzitzis originally, right, and now there's Rabbi Binsky himself for tchelis, actually, the blue. Tzitzis had a blue string. And many people wear it today as well. Why blue reminds you the color of the sea, the color of the sky, reminds you the Hashem, who created the world, who runs the world. So you have a constant reminder, as we said before. Look, process, think. Mi bara'ela, who created all this? What am I here? He created me. Why? What am I here for? Where am I going? Who am I? What am I doing here? Where am I going? Tzitzis. And it's brought, you say, there are many stories about how tzitzis protects and protected and Is it like a shield? We'll use this as an example, but I believe it applies to everything. It's not hocus pocus. It's not some magic. I believe it's cause and effect. Everything's miraculous. The whole world, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always doing miracles, and he just dresses it up in nature, right? But cause and effect. Tzitzis is a vehicle that's used to remind us and keep us connected to Hashem. So of course it's a shield and it's a protection. And there was a story about a young law student. He just got his first internship in a major firm, and they were just then dealing with some crazy fire, some sort of explosion that destroyed a bunch of houses, like in a whole block radius. And people were collecting insurance money, and this law firm got all these cases, or part of them. I don't know, they got all these cases, and this new lawyer, freshie, straight out of college, got a few of these cases. Now, one of these clients wasn't the most pleasant guy. And he would come every single day. Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? He didn't care about nothing else. No bureaucracy, no court. He wanted his money. Every day, day in, day out. When one day they see him walking up again, all right, Johnny's here again. But this time it was not a joke. He wasn't willing to listen to anything. He came with a gun. He went up to this lawyer, for a boy, young boy, pulled out a gun and shot him. Started shooting him. Boy started running. He was being chased. He shot him a good 6-7 times. Oh, and he had a dream. This boy had a dream a few nights before. I read it somewhere. They heard it from the boy himself, from the man himself, about being careful with tzitzis. To be careful with something like this, and that the tzitzis saved him. He's running. He shot him like 6-7 times, and he ran away. He twisted his foot. Actually, this criminal twisted his foot on the way down. And that's how they ended up catching him, because he ended up in the ER after he couldn't go anymore. And they recognized him on the news, because they put, right before this lawyer passed out from the losing so much blood, he said the name of this perpetrator. So they look, but he went in, he had 6-7 shots. He went into surgery for many, many, many hours. And after a few hours, the doctor comes out to his family, and he's like white as a sheet. He's like, but you don't understand. The bullets missed him by a millimeter, by a tiny, tiny, tiny distance. Missed the vital organs, meaning a little bit more, they would have hit vital organs, he would have been gone. They just missed. And they made a cheshbon that wherever his tzitzis were covering him, the bullet didn't touch. Wherever his tzitzis were covering him in his body, you can't make this up. The bullet didn't go. Went in his hand, it went in near his chest. Depending on how the tzitzis go, the V-neck, the round neck, I don't know which ones he had. But it missed vital organs by a millimeter of a millimeter. Shmira of tzitzis. The Goyim, they said before he passed away, he picked up his tzitzis, and he says, "Look at this world. Something for so little money, relatively, you can get to yourself eternity. Tremendously, it's very, very special. People have them right by night, but not today. There's no mitzvah. There's no chiyuv. Where tzitzis? There is a chiyuv. There is an obligation to do it." Talis, we say about talis, the person is wrapped around by a mitzvah. You're wrapped around by a mitzvah. Mitzvah of tzitzis. And we can talk the whole shir just on tzitzis. There's a lot to say, but let's go further. Asher kiddushonu b'mitzvah al netilas yadayim, to wash our hands. What's washing? Purification. So washing in the morning, really, there's two reasons. One, because maybe a person, when he's sleeping, touched places, right, that are normally covered. And generally, when we touch those places throughout the day, you have to wash your hands for, right, before you daven, before you do anything, for the sake of purity, kedusha. And there's another reason, that during the night, right, a person is 1/60th of death, there's a ruach ra, a bad spirit, which goes on the person, and we wash that off in the morning. We wash that off. Similar, right, after we leave a cemetery, we also wash our hands. After we, and that's why before you wash your hands in the morning, you're not supposed to touch any place in your body, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, any sort of opening, your ears, not to touch, not until you wash your hands, because it could be damaging. There's different ways how to wash this. 3 times in each hand. The Vilna Gaon says 4 times in each hand, because you want to wash off that water. That's why, or you wipe it. Besides for physical hygiene, which in general, historically, being that Jews always, we wash our hands in the morning, we wash our hands before we eat, you wash your hands before davening, just like the Kahanim would wash before they would go to to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. That's what we wash before davening. When we're coming to shul, before avodah. So historically, when there were epidemics, the percentage was always lower in the Jewish communities because there was much more cleanliness, right? Even washing your body. Back in the day, and I was reading a memoir from a Holocaust survivor. He ended up in Uzbekistan, and he ended up in a place where apparently, it was a desert. There wasn't too much water around, so the normal way of washing yourself was taking a little water, going in your nose and your eyes, and pretty much that was it. There's a book called Go My Son by Chaim Shapiro. But that never existed by Jews, because there's always a mikveh, there's always washing yourself before Shabbos, washing your hands. So that's the physical hygiene. But besides that, or the soul of it is cleanliness, of constantly being clean, physically and spiritually. Preparing yourself. Why am I washing my hands? I'm preparing myself to serve Hashem. I'm taking off any sort of things, negative things that may be on me. I'm shedding all of that to purify myself and to clean myself and to prepare myself to focus and properly serve Hashem. And it is late. I think Ashriyatzar needs a little bit more time than we have now. We're going to go through the bracha word by word. It's something to have in mind. It's brought down when you concentrate on Ashriyatzar has a power of refuah. Again, you're realizing how your body runs. You're appreciating how your body runs. Appreciating who makes it run that way. That in itself is a tremendous merit. We'll go through that next week. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your attention. I do want to mention that all the Torah that we said tonight should be as a schus for Refuah Shlema for Efrat Bas Rachel, for Bella Bas Leah, and the little boy Mordechai ben Chayasarish have a Refuah Shlema. Thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.